Okay, hello everyone. So today I am making these overalls. So I went and got this polka dot cord from Darn Cheap Fabrics, and as soon as I saw it I thought I'm gonna make overalls out of this. I just love it so much. So it's this little overall dress. It's got the skirt bottom instead of shorts, and it's got these cute little pockets as well as a seam line matching at the back, so it's kind of got a continued curved seam at the side. I also got these little buckles from Etsy. I'll try to link the Etsy store down below if I remember. But I just wanted something a little bit different to your usual overall buckles. But of course you can use normal buckles or whatever buckle you like. I did actually think about putting the kind of like side release kind of seatbelt looking buckles on there because I thought that might be a cute idea as well. So you can definitely change up the buckles to whatever you want. You can use whatever fabric you want as well, just as long as it's kind of medium to heavier weight is probably better. This is definitely a medium weight cord and I absolutely love how it's turned out. So yeah, I'll show you how I made it. So you'll need 2 meters of medium weight fabric, half a meter of lining fabric, 2 buckles and a 20cm zipper. So for the pattern pieces, you're going to cut 1 pair of the pocket bag in lining fabric, 1 on the fold of the back piece, 1 pair of the pocket facing pieces, 1 on the fold of the front piece, 1 on the fold of the back facing, 1 on the fold of the front facing, and 1 pair of back panel pieces. So for the straps, you're going to make them yourself for the width of your buckle. So you just need to add 2 centimeters for the seam allowance. So my buckle was 2.5, so I've made my straps 4.5 centimeters in thick, and then for the length, just as long as it's longer than you need. So for the first step, we're going to apply these back panel pieces to the back piece along this curve. So just carefully pinning it along here. This might take a little bit of moving the fabric and wiggling it around while you're sewing it, so just take your time. And we're going to attach that lining to the front piece along the curve as well. So this is just the pocket bag which is going to sit inside the garment. It's not going to be shown at all. So all of these seams are 1 centimeter as well, unless I tell you otherwise, but pretty much every seam is going to be 1 centimeter. So once you've sewn that, you're going to snip into the curve. This is so it folds through easier. I've turned it through and then added a stitching detail with a twin needle, but there's no need to do this. That's just purely for aesthetics, so it's optional if you want to do it or not. So now I'm going to attach the back facing to the back piece along this waist seam here. I'm going to make sure I push any of the seams out of the way and make sure I'm not sewing over the top of them. So now applying the pocket facing to the pocket bag just along the edge. So again, this is just a 1 centimeter seam, and we're just going to sew around that curve. So now again, we're pushing the seams away from the edge and we're sewing up the side of this back facing and back piece. So we're almost finished bagging out the back facing to the back. Again, just with 1 centimeter seam allowance. So now that that is done, we're going to snip into the corner. This just makes it a little bit easier when we turn it through. Again, when we turn it through, I'm going to end up top stitching all around the edge with the twin needle, but that's not a necessary step. But I would definitely press here just to make sure it stays nice and flat. So again, this is the front piece. We do the same as the back, attaching on the waist, and we're pushing the seams right out of the way. This is especially important because of this pocket. I'm actually going to pin it just out of the way just so it doesn't accidentally move while I'm sewing and I accidentally sew over it or anything. So now the straps, we're putting these pieces with right sides together and we're going to sew up the long edge 1 centimeter seam allowance. So I've made mine about 70 centimeters, so again we're going to cut these down anyway, so it's okay if they're a lot longer. It's actually better if they're longer rather than shorter. So now that that is done, I'm going to trim down the edges to about 0.5. so about 5 mil. This just makes it a little bit easier when you're turning through.
and turning it through can be a bit tough, so just make sure you're patient with it and slowly take your time bagging it out and just working through it. So this took me a long time. As you can see, Prince came in for cuddles here because I was taking too much time sewing, not enough time giving him attention. So now that that is done, I'm going to cut off about a 6cm piece, which is going to be used to attach the little buckle that sits at the front. So it's just a little tab piece. And I'm just going to sew this down 1cm, just because it will mean it won't slip or anything when I'm sewing it on to the front piece. So now that those are sewn down, I've also top stitched over my straps, but this again isn't necessary. So now I'm putting the straps with the right side facing the right side of the back piece. So it's sandwiched right in there in that little corner. And I'm going to pin this all down and then sew 1cm along that top edge. So again, snipping in like we did on the back, but this time we're doing it to the front piece. This will just make it a little bit easier to turn through. So now with these little tabs, same thing as we did on the back, we're going to pin them into the corner, just sandwiching it between the front facing and the front piece, with the right sides facing the right side of the body of the garment. So now that that's all done, I've top stitched everything, and again that's just a personal step I've done, but it's not necessary. So now I'm going to I'm going to sew up the sides of the garment. So I'm doing the left side entirely, but because we're putting a zipper in, the right side will do a little bit differently. So here we go with the right side, we're putting the invisible zipper right along the edge, ignoring the facing piece, just leaving that up for the moment, because we're going to end up folding that down to create a neater edge. So again, the invisible zipper just goes in this side, ignoring that little facing piece, right down the side. So now that's done, what we're going to do is fold that facing piece down over the top of the zipper. This means when we fold it inside out, it's just going to create a really nice, clean, finished look. So I'm doing this on both of the edges of the zipper. So now I'm also going to pin the rest of that right side seam and sew down that 1cm. So I'm just making sure everything is straight and aligned with each other, the hems are matching up and everything is okay to go. And now before we turn through the zipper, just snip off that excess corner just to get rid of some of the bulk and make it a little bit neater when we turn it through. So when we turn it through, we've got this really nice neat finish, very nice and clean professional finish. So I'm going to edge stitch along these pieces I'm pinning right now, but again that's not a necessary step. So now we are all done with that part. We're going to work on the straps. So now how I did them was I pinned them on like this and then tried it on my body and adjusted the pins and where the buckle sat as necessary. So here I'm just measuring them out where I've repinned it and making sure they measure the same length. I think mine ended up being about 40 centimeters, just for a guide if you're about the same size that I am. So I'm going to snip this excess off, and then with about 3 centimeters spare, I'm going to stitch down just along the top edge of that. So now the hem is just a 1 centimeter turn up, just like normal. You can do a double rolled hem or anything fancy if you want. I've just done a normal turned up hem with my twin needle for a nice edge detail.
Okay, so I'm really happy with how these turned out, and I'm going to put it up on my Etsy store as well, so you can download the pattern there. Yeah, I just really love the look of these. I think they're a little bit young, a little bit fun, and yeah, so I think it's a pretty simple thing to make as well. I only use my regular sewing machine. I didn't even use an overlocker for these. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed watching it. I will hopefully be putting up a few more videos soon. I have filmed a few others, it's just editing them that's a bit hard, but that's okay, I'll get through it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching, and goodbye!